This is it, folks. So we are just about 25 minutes away from the college football playoff, something that we talk about every day. We talk about this every day. Think about that. In May, we're talking college football playoff. In February, in July, we're talking college football playoff. We've been talking about it every day all year. Who's going to make it? Should they make it? Why they should make it? Who should make it instead? But we are here. We've got two games on the field in Dallas and in Miami for the next 7 hours. And this is what we waited for. Hopefully, we're going to see some good football. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. We're going to take you right up to kickoff of Alabama and Cincinnati. Please check out the video that I posted earlier today with my prediction on the Crimson Tide and the Bearcats of UC, followed by Michigan and Georgia. And we also posted our prediction on that game as well. We've hit 7 straight during the bowl season. Before I continue, one sad note on this New Year's Eve that I just found out about 5 minutes ago. Rest in peace, Miss Betty White. She would have been 100 years old. 100 years old in 17 days. So I will forever remember her for a number of reasons, but also the age in mind will be 100 for me because she made it just 17 days shy of 100 years old. And if you look into the woman's career, it is one of the most amazing in the history of entertainment, dating back to the 1940s. And here we are in 1922, practically. Betty White, rest in peace. All right, back to the football here. We've got Cincinnati, we've got Alabama. Leave your score predictions there in the live chat. We'll read them off. Any last-minute questions and comments that you have for me, certainly we will get to them, and we will take this right up to kickoff. Appreciate everybody being here. Absolutely, West Virginia guy. Rest in peace to Betty White. Whether you're a fan of the Golden Girls or Mary Tyler Moore or just a number of, that Cleveland show that she did recently. And when I say recently, in the last 10 years or so, just an amazing career that this woman has had going from the beginning. She has to be the last individual that takes us all the way back to the beginning of television. Television invented well before the 1950s, but practically, in a practical sense, there were not television sets in people's living rooms basically until the early 1950s. And so she ushered in television. It's amazing. All right, back to the football. We've got Venice is here. Good to see you. Yes, thank you so much for on this night when you were thinking nothing but maize and blue. Thank you so much for at least remembering, Venice. I appreciate that. To hit the like button. Appreciate that. We got NoCal rooting for the Bearcats. You know what? We've got so many different fan bases represented here when we go live and during our content that we post on the various team channels. I don't know if we have had a Cincinnati fan comment or call into the show. I don't think it's happened. Not one Cincinnati fan. Which, of course, speaks to the size of the channel and the show, I know, but no Cincinnati fan representation here. Yes, Betty White passes away, the bird's word. John Madden, Harry Reid, Betty White, it comes in threes. So they say. It has yet to be proven, but so they say. West Virginia guy likes Alabama winning. No. Cincinnati winning 34-21. Sorry, I don't have my glasses or contacts in. Score prediction coming in from Gnar is Bama wins 42-20. So Gnar's at 42-20. Venice, Bama wins 35-28. Gnar, hey, Mark, hope you're having a good day. Do you think Cincinnati will even put up 20 points? My score prediction was 42-17 Bama. So at 17 points, of course, it would not surprise me if they did score 20, but I'm not picking them to score 20. We do at least have a highly competitive game here at the Sun Bowl with Central Michigan leading 21-14. They raced out to a 21-0 lead, which you got to credit Central Michigan for being on the site of another bowl game against Boise State, wherever that game was going to be played. Then they had to reverse course and get prepared for Washington State. And both teams had to prepare for each other last minute, but Central Michigan actually had to reroute the whole direction of the football team and show up in El Paso, Texas on New Year's Eve and play this ball game in which they're winning over a Pac-12 team 21-14. And when we did not think that the Pac-12 could be any worse, the Pac-12, this season better end soon for the Pac-12. Better end soon. Utah, are you out there? Utah's going to show possibly that it does not belong in the Pac-12. Because otherwise the Pac-12 cannot beat anyone, not even Central Michigan. This Washington State team was vying for the Pac-12 North Division Championship on the last weekend of the season. And they can't beat Central Michigan. The Pac-12 is awful. This is bottom floor. The Pac-12 has reached new depths for its history and for the history of the Power Five. The Bird's Word, thank you so much for that comment. These kind of comments keep me going. Thanks for all the great content this year, Mark. Your show has made the season a lot more fun to follow. And hopefully the off season. So for everybody out there that's just into college football during the season, we want to give you reason to stay here during the off season as well. Oh, Central Michigan almost connected for another touchdown. Brandon, feeling good for Michigan. Venice, how come you don't have a TV show, or is this more your control? Well, that is the thought, sir. Venice, good thought right there. So that's a loaded question, but it's a good one, and I appreciate your interest. We will talk about that during the offseason at a later date. But, yeah, if Fox wanted to throw $1 million at me, yes, I would listen. But I love having control. Central Michigan now takes a 2-score lead with 9 minutes left in the game at 24-14. Washington State was a 7-point pick by Vegas. The Bird's Word goes Bama 42-15. No, Cal Matt says, no, my better half is in grad school at Cincinnati. My money is invested in this. Let's go Bearcats. There we go. Phil B likes Cincinnati, or is at least rooting for the Bearcats. Dave, my apologies if I have not simply noticed your name and handle in the live chat, because I haven't, that I can remember. So you know what you get here, especially on this New Year's Eve. Welcome to the Voice of College Football. Dave would love to know who you root for and how long you've been watching. Maybe it's the Dave that called me last night or the night before rooting for Utah. And it is great to have a Utah fan watching us. That's awesome. I think this is the first season that we've truly broken free in terms of our channel and show of having just the standard fan bases involved. We've heard from Wake Forest and Oregon State and Washington State fans, and now possibly Cincinnati and Utah. The Bird's Word, the Pac-12 season looks so promising at the beginning of the year, but we have been relegated back to the basement in the Power 5 household. Yeah, the Bird's Word, I'm sorry about that. It was promising because LSU, despite their problems, despite their inefficiency on the field, and despite their 5-5 finish in 2020, an extremely, extremely talented roster. So UCLA winning that game at the Rose Bowl week 1, that was a big deal at the time. It's still a somewhat quality win, but it was a big deal at the time. And then, of course, Oregon, Ohio State, that seems like, for still as good as Oregon is compared to the rest of college football, the 130 teams, you still got to think that they're one of the 20 best teams in the country. That still seems like such an aberration, beating Ohio State and Columbus, considering what the Big Ten's done since then and the results the Big Ten has put up versus the Pac-12 continually losing now. This is in bowl season now. This is going to be a loss to Central Michigan, a loss to Utah State. The Wisconsin loss was that. Now that was the performance of the bowl season by the Pac-12 in hanging with Wisconsin. That was by far the best performance, and there would be another loss in there somewhere. Oregon, of course, losing to Oklahoma. No definitive word on Daxton Hill, but everything that I saw online points to him playing in the ball game. Jim Harbaugh was asked by Marty Smith of ESPN about it later in the day yesterday, and he would not commit to it. He said it looks good. He would not even commit to saying Daxton Hill was in Miami, which it was obvious that he had arrived in Miami. Why Jim Harbaugh would not state that one way or the other, I don't get it, but that's fine. But it sounded like he was confident Daxton Hill was going to play. Pizza Woman, great for you to be here. I'm going to have some pizza tonight during the games. That is most definite. Go Bearcats and Dogs. So a Georgia-Cincinnati national championship game. Dave goes with, why do you think Lincoln Riley went? He can't compete with the SEC. Well, he might have been able to compete with this SEC that we're seeing during the bowl season at 1-5. Oh, we got a parlay bet coming in from the Real Hayden. And the Real Hayden's got some helmets on the way for me. Plus 1081 on a parlay of Bama, Michigan, and Central Michigan. So Central Michigan looking good for you, although the game's not over. Washington State is now inside the 40. And they've got a second down with 8:30 left. So they've got to score twice and obviously hold Central Michigan. Addison Books here, Ole Miss fan. Good to see you, Addison. Thank you so much. Adam, the sports guy, great to see you. Thank you so much for the super chat contribution. Appreciate that so much. Adam, I want you guys, since I'm watching the Sun Bowl, I've got the Sun Bowl on here. Keep me honest on Bama Cincinnati kickoff. What time is it? Okay, we got about 10 minutes. Adam, we appreciate it. Alabama Crimson Tide rolls the Bearcats 52-13. Badger and Bournemouth fan. So we've got a Wisconsin fan here. Man, I love the diversity of our channel. I got to think it's unmatched in college football thanks to all of you. Mark, you are the most objective college football guys on. Go Big Ten. Hey, no Cal, Matt, still loves my Pac-12. You should. It's still fun football to watch. They're just not good. And I have no investment in the Pac-12 whatsoever, but it actually hurts me a bit because I grew up a Big Ten guy, and if anything, the Big Ten got slapped upside the head more times than not against the Pac-12, certainly in the Rose Bowl in the 70s and 80s and into the 90s. Starting about 93, that Wisconsin win over UCLA ushered in a new era for the Big Ten against the Pac-12. But for a good 20 years, the Big Ten was typically the favorite and would take it on the chin against the Pac-12. And it's so strange now that it's a given that people make fun of the Pac-12, people look down on the Pac-12, people dismiss the Pac-12. And I think back to the 80s in particular, that was really my growing up in college football. I started watching at the end of the 70s, but really in the 80s. And the Pac-12 was arguably the best conference all the time. Arguably. There was really no king of college football in regards to conference comparisons then. It certainly was not the SEC. There was no Missouri, Texas A&M, South Carolina, and Arkansas, of course. And Mississippi State was awful. Ole Miss, by and large, was awful. Auburn until Bo Jackson. And once Bo Jackson arrived, and that ushered in a new era of Auburn football in the 80s and 90s as being top flight. Alabama, post Bear Bryant, was not really that good for the next 10 years. Tennessee was up and down, but typically really good, like not elite good, but 9-2 good. Most of the time, 8-3, 9-2. Georgia was, again, most of those teams in the SEC, the better teams, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, were good. They were really good. Auburn, but they weren't dominant on a regular basis. Vanderbilt, of course, was awful. Kentucky was awful. Gunnar is telling us that the Big Ten is the strongest Power 5 conference. It's looking that way. Ricardo, would that not be epic? If Cincinnati wins tonight, I think that will infuse college football with an infusion of life that we have not seen for quite some time. Crimson Brave, I know you're rooting for the Crimson Tide, and you should. Alabama fans have nothing to be ashamed of. You shouldn't have to lower yourselves to the rest of college football. Continue to do your thing and dominate. Continue to do your thing and dominate the sport. Clemson and Ohio State, based on regular season results, has kept up with Alabama over the past 10 or 12 years. However, what Alabama's done in the postseason has separated itself in being the king of that conference, and then also in the postseason, when given the opportunity. And let's not kid ourselves, it is being given an opportunity. We don't earn it in college football. We're basically given the opportunity to play in the playoff. Alabama has taken advantage and dominated those opportunities unlike any other program in college football. Clemson did 15, 16 into 18 and 19. That was that Clemson run of 5 years, going to a championship game, taking Alabama to a 5-point game, winning the national championship in surprising fashion in 16, being the number 1 seed despite losing to Bama in the round 1 in 17, winning an undefeated national championship season in 18, getting back to the national title game in 19. That's Clemson's window of being Bama. But they didn't sustain it, apparently. We shall see. I do not think that Clemson has dropped off considerably. I do not believe that. Mike is telling us that today the nation is going to realize that the Big Ten ain't no joke. Go Blue. So this is where we're really going to get a dose of Big Ten SEC reality. The two conferences played neck and neck during the regular season in non-conference play. We've gone through the metrics. We've posted the videos looking at the SEC and the Big Ten and all the Power 5 conferences and how they performed in non-conference play during the regular season. During the postseason, now we're talking about the 6th and 7th and 8th best teams in these conferences and 9th and 10th best teams in these conferences. The Big Ten has been significantly better, but there have been more significant opt-outs on the SEC side, aside from the Purdue example, which was, despite the controversial finish, you've got to give it up for Purdue, at least in competing in that game without a number of key players in the secondary, without their 2 best wide receivers, one being, of course, David Bell, one of the best in the business, and George Karlaftis, one of the best defensive ends in college football. Missing all that talent, they were still able to compete. It's unfortunate to see this Central Michigan player being taken off the field. He's in obvious pain, and it's a right leg injury. All right, Washington stays still with the football, down by 10, under 8 minutes to play, and they just missed a wide open receiver. George, we appreciate you stopping by. Go Bama, and I remembered to hit the like button. Yes, got to do that. Thank you so much for that. The Bird's word. I hope Bama Cincinnati game is good, but I think Bama is going to manhandle Cincy. This Cincy offensive line has looked very weak this year. They cannot be weak in this one. I don't see Cincinnati scoring big points in this game. They're not going to be able to run the ball. I don't see it. Venice is telling us that the Big Ten is the better coaching, the SEC the better talent. I would agree with that, by and large. Certainly, the better talent portion of that goes to the SEC without question. The coaching of it is more of a argument per se. It's less debatable. It's more debatable. The talent quotient isn't debatable. Just look at the NFL draft, look at the recruiting. We know that the SEC is the best talent. The Big Ten, though, has the second best talent. The coaching, I think that's an astute comment, but it's more difficult to prove. The real MVP is telling us that the American Conference is better than the Pac-12. You know what? That's going to be a point of analysis following the season. And I would really dig deep on that one. I don't know that anyone's going to watch that video, though, the Pac-12 and the American Conference showdown. But I may dive into that one. The Birds' word, the Texas-Alabama title game was such a crossroads game. Texas fell off a cliff and Bama ascended to domination. Astute comment there. Absolutely. As we look back at 2009 and Colt McCoy gets hurt, Bama wins. Not that they would have lost. I'm not saying that. Just saying that was pivotal, of course. And Bama goes on its run, and Texas has not returned. Uncle Rico, Mike Rogers, the voice of college football. Uncle Rico's just, I think that there's some type of grandfather clause on those type of jokes. I believe. I was called Mike a couple times last night. If you missed it. Christopher says, that's not true. There's a clear division. There is a clear division between Power 5 and Group of 5. I'm actually surprised to hear Christopher say that. Gnar, the winds of change are here. Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State, Iowa, and even Wisconsin have far more talent than the SEC. Whoa. And it will show in this and next year's NFL draft. Whoa. Gnar. Back down, buddy. Come on now. It is not going to show in the NFL draft. I am going to guarantee that there will be more NFL draft selections out of the SEC than out of the Big Ten. Michigan, Ohio State, yes, loaded, but the SEC still has the superior recruited talent that turns into NFL talent later. George, come on back after the game. I'm going to be here between games if, in fact, there is time. The Real MVP, thank you so much for the plug right there. Subscribe to Mark's Alabama channel. It's a good find there. We've got about 3 or 4 different Alabama people we go to on a regular basis, so check out our Alabama content there at the Voice of College Football. That's the next one up to Real MVP. You are astute. You are on top of it. Chris says, Mark, you need a crystal ball. Not the way I've been picking these games. And this one, I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break because you know what I thought? Washington State, Central Michigan, I'm throwing darts at this one. I don't know. And most people that pride themselves in predicting games and put game predictions out there don't pick all the games. They only give you their best because, and rightfully so, I understand it, they pull back and do not predict the games that they are not confident in. I pick all the games. I just pick all of them. Yeah, great game. Best game of the bowl season, in my opinion, thus far has been Purdue and Tennessee. Unfortunately, we had a controversial ending. Washington State with a big play. So they're still alive down inside the 40-yard line with 5 minutes to play, down 10. I think we've hit that time. Absolutely. We're playing football. Alabama, Cincinnati. If we've got time between games, I will be right here to talk Alabama, Cincinnati, and preview Georgia and Michigan with all of you. Thanks for being here. We will see you soon.